Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, now we're in progress. Hello to everybody. And this is a great opportunity and unique opportunity, I would say, for everybody, in particular to me, to introduce a distinguished visitor who is staying in Chile for a while. I would say about 4 or 5 days. I think he's
Yeah.
leaving this Sunday, perhaps back to the United States of America, where he comes from. He's Professor Byron Price, and he started as assistant professor of public administration. He's editor-in-chief of the Journal of Public Management and Social Policy. He's director of the MPA and executive MPA. He's a PhD in public policy and administration from the Mississippi State University and so many other um, titles he has. And even better than this, all the achievement. Uh, I know very well, because I know very well where he comes from, the Mega Eve College, that those people there they are a very distinguished academic team. They have done a lot for people all around the world. Even we have here some visitor from Mega Eve College some years ago. The dean of the faculty of the School of Business was here with some students. So we know them, and I know them very much, very well indeed. Having said this, Professor Price, I would like you very much if you can introduce yourself and talk to as many people as, well, you will see how many people get connected and they will see it, because this is going to be in YouTube, if you allow me to do so.
Yes.
So I'm going to send you the link for YouTube and so on.
Okay.
Professor, it's a real pleasure. I say this honestly and sincerely, and I hope and I wish you the very best of luck. We are going to meet personally on Friday, and well, and there we can make some jokes and have a good time.
Sounds good.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But thanks for having me, sir. Thank you. As you said, sir, I'm Dr. Byron Price. As you introduced me, I'm a professor of public policy and administration, professor at Medgar Evers College at the City University of New York. Tell you a little bit more about me, but I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. That's in the southern part of the United States of America. It's considered the Mid-South. We're known for music, blues, jazz, and food, barbecue, wet or dry barbecue. I know you all, your barbecue is like just beef, but we do pork barbecue, beef barbecue, chicken barbecue, and we do catfish. And I guess a little bit more about me. How did I get to where I am today? We were talking offline. Well, I grew up in what they call the ghetto in the United States. So you could say, like you talked about, like here we're talking about introducing entrepreneurship to fragile communities. So I grew up in a fragile, sort of like a disadvantaged community in what they call a ghetto. Those are usually high rise with people from low socioeconomic status. And I never saw my dad till I was 26 years old. My mother was a single mother, and I witnessed my first homicide in the 6th grade. And so I've seen a lot of different things in my environment. But one of the things that kept me from sort of falling into the traps of the ghetto is that I was a great American football player, and I was very strong in academics. And so academics became my passport. I've been to all 50 United States. I've been to 40 African countries. I've been to 120 countries of the world, and I've been to 5 of the 7 continents. I'm going to get the 6th continent in Antarctica because I'm going to Argentina Sunday. I'm going to stay there a couple of days, and I'll go to Antarctica. So I have 6 or 7 continents. And so one of the things, I'm going to show you how it connects to why I do what I do, why I travel now. So one of the things that was kind of interesting, a funny story, when I was in the 6th grade, I was absent from school. I was never absent. So my youngest sister, who's 2 years behind me, was there at school. And when I came back, and the teacher said, "Byron Price, where have you been?" And I told the teacher, "I've been to Paris. I just got back from Paris." And we were very poor. And so my little sister said, "You ain't been no Paris." But she said, when we had a conversation, you spoke that into existence about wanting to travel. And so I dreamed about wanting to travel from the 6th grade. And so I've been traveling ever since. And through my travels, I began to notice so much poverty and so many informal markets in Africa and in the Caribbean, like places like Suriname and even here in Chile today, you see a lot of, I think, informal. Well, let me say they look like informal markets. I don't know if they get a certificate if the government regulates it, but I know in a lot of the other countries you see these informal markets. And I've always thought about ways how we could formalize these markets. Because one of the things, so many of our people, they sell the same thing in these informal markets. But also I began to notice challenges with energy, like load shedding in South Africa, Nigeria, Liberia. And so that I began to think about, as academics, we write all the time and talk to each other. But I believe I call my nickname or my mantra is I'm the activist scholar with a solutions agenda. So when I engage in research, I actually go out and implement my research. And so that's why I've been traveling now to sort of like see how we can sort of like bring, first and foremost, foster and facilitate entrepreneurship and bring people together across the diaspora where I've been working together who have the technology and have access to capital, but also embrace this idea of eco-friendly infrastructure, investing in eco-friendly infrastructure, because we have to protect our world. And we have to protect it for the kids that are coming up, our grandkids and our children and their children. And so that's how I started to sort of like begin to sort of like really get engaged in sort of traveling and sort of like looking at what's going on, whether or not migration is a solution to help. Because, migration can be used to sort of power a fragile economy, especially when you think about like some of the places, especially the countries I visited in Africa, they don't really have the schools. So I've been helping along with Princess Okansi, like 10,000 African students matriculated for STEM discipline only, STEM, AI, and MBA. And we receive funding to help them access school. And see, while they're in school here in the United States, they can participate in this optical practical training for 3 years. And they get STEM-related jobs paying from $60,000 to $200,000. So you can give money back home and you can pay off any loan you have. And then you get all this knowledge and you come back, because that's how India did it, that's how China did it. But most of the other people, like from Africa and other countries, they want to stay in the United States. But a lot of the other people came back to their homes and now they power India and China. So that's how I got there, Professor. I think I answered a couple of your questions you had gave me. And so that's how I sort of arrived to where I am now, the kind of work that I do.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Huh? I think it was pretty clear, actually. Okay, you can carry on, my dear friend.
Okay, and so when you think about how to sort of facilitate sort of entrepreneurship in fragile economies, I think you have to have a better regulatory environment. I think far too often the regulatory environment is not conducive to entrepreneurship or to a cooperative capitalism. I think that's one of the things a lot of us don't embrace is cooperative capitalism. And I think that's key. And so like for me, like one of the things I also encourage the regulatory environment is that's what they're starting to do in Africa, is to require when people want to come in and sort of like extract your resources, you should not send raw resources out. You should make them build in the facilities, process any. I know Chile has rare earth elements and critical minerals. So you should have these companies that come in that want to offtake your critical minerals and rare earth elements. You should absolutely not ship out raw materials because you need to create jobs. So if they build the facilities here and if they process here, then you're creating jobs, you're controlling the resource, you're controlling the byproducts from those materials. So you think about Nigeria, I'll give you an example of Nigeria. Nigeria has just probably more crude oil than anybody. And they ship their crude oil to China, and China process it, and then it comes back to Nigeria. So think about that. They think about, you don't know what byproducts China has skimmed off the top, or they even send you any byproducts back. They just process your crude oil. And so, but now Dangote from Nigeria, he's basically building a processing facility. So when you think about processing and educators out there, again, when you see problems, you have to do something about it. Like when I was in Nigeria, I saw a lot of trash in Nigeria, and I was visiting an Ondo state, and one of the professors, a young lady, she was studying a PhD. I helped her start this initiative called the Green Institute, and basically, what that was about, we saw this is entrepreneurship, though. Seeing a problem in the community and using the 3 M's. I call it the 3 M's. You make it matter, and you monetize it. You make it matter, and you monetize it. 3 M's. And so we utilized trash. We told the students that, well, let me go back. A lot of Nigerian students millions of students want to access education, but they can't. They can't afford to, and there's a major skills gap. So what we did was we came up with the Green Institute, worked through the ministries of education and various government agencies, and we were able to establish the Green Institute. They can Google the Green Institute in Nigeria, where they exchange trash for education. And so we recycled that trash and so forth. And so we created jobs from the recycling opportunity, but we also helped them get skills that were certified and aligned with industry in Nigeria because of the skills gap. So what I do is when I see problems, I work with the local content and the local people to think about how we can sort of like accomplish 3 things: put people to work, and by putting them to work, you give them a sense of self-worth, and also they're cleaning up their community and helping to get rid of a lot of the communicable diseases. Now, one of the initiatives that I saw, like in South Africa, some other places, they have lots of tires, right? Lots of waste. So I found some people with technology where they can convert waste to energy, and they don't use incineration, where you pollute the environment. So now they're going to be building facilities there. So that means they're putting South Africans to work, and they're going to be taking all those excess trash and those landfills and converting that to jet fuel and diesel fuel. And they can process jet and diesel fuel from coal, but they also have technology utilizing not pyrolysis, but electrolysis, where they can burn coal. Because now we have an issue related to coal, where they can burn coal 85% clean and 35% hotter because they can extract the rare earth elements of mercury, sulfur, and arsen. From there, then you can utilize those rare earth elements and sell those. So those are the type of things that I do. I see where if you have critical minerals, or if you have coal, if you have sort of these these fossil fuels, we want to help you decarbonize, but we want to do it in a way where it's eco-friendly, but also it puts the local content jobs, create jobs for local content, but it also, as a result, a building and processing in country, you also create entrepreneurs. There are peripheral businesses that develop around those companies that are newly formed. And so those are so that's what some of the things that I do when I travel. I always look for opportunities to sort of like engage and bring people together.
Oh, very nice. Huh? How hard is the job, my dear friend, nowadays with the economy all over the world, which is rather fragile?
I didn't understand the question, Professor.
How hard is the situation nowadays all over the world? Because the economy is not very strong at the moment.
It's very hard. There's so much poverty. There's a lot of poverty. You see so many homeless people. I mean, so many people asking for money. So many people exchanging whatever they have, whatever they think they have of value to try to get money. And so, yeah, it's difficult in New York also because the housing is we have a serious homeless problem. When you think about Los Angeles, a serious homeless problem. And I think when you think of price of eggs, I don't really eat eggs, but I'm here. Eggs are so expensive. People can't even afford eggs in the United States anymore. So everything is going up except for the paycheck. And so, go ahead. I'm sorry. You're about to ask a question.
Tell me something. The people who are in a bad situation from the economical point of view, what kind of education can they get? Because the future is education, without any doubt. If they cannot get a good education, what can they do?
Well, but see, I don't think. Yes, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't think every student has to go to college. I think
yes,
I'm a big proponent of college, but I think we should focus on skill. We should focus on young people's talents. I think far too many parents try to force their kids to go to college, and they don't want to go to college, but their child may have a talent or a skill, and I think that's what should be cultivated. I think there's something to be said for like skills-based training, but I think the education system needs to be reformed as well. I don't think students who are engineers should be able to graduate if they hadn't built anything. So if you're a business major, you hadn't done a business plan, or you haven't done an investment deck, or you don't know the necessary software that businesses use. See, I think that's what colleges fail. We get, let's say we give a student a marketing degree, which they could get cut a path to sort of like for advertisement, but we don't teach them any of the advertising software. And and like I know Dee Road is on here, and she would do it, but then you have faculty that fight to sort of enhance the curriculum. So I think the education system is part of the problem, as well as the regulatory system of government is part of the problem with respect to sort of like building the next generation of entrepreneurs. And so, that's what I see. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you are right. Tell me something. There is another priority for the community, and it has to do with the National Health Service. And this is very expensive. And what do you think about that?
You saying the hair service, like I don't have any hair?
No, I'm talking about the National Health Service. Health.
Yes. Health. Yes, well, that's another problem as well. A lot of communities, especially in Africa, the Caribbean, and maybe Chile. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of us don't eat what we grow and grow what we eat. Okay, so we import a lot of like low value food that gets thrown away because it's on our shelves and it's no good. And I think we lost. And I'm coming to your health question. And I think we've lost love for the land. We're no longer connected to the land. And so as a result, we import all this stuff. And especially poor countries, they import stuff. Well, now they're starting to get Western diseases in Africa, in Chile. You see diabetes, cancer, but that's because they're starting to embrace Western culture. So if you grew your own food, And then agriculture or agribusiness is $1 trillion industry in Africa. $1 trillion, but they import everything. And then when you think about tourism, a lot of them import in for tourism. And as a result of that, they use a lot of energy, which they don't have, to sort of like encourage tourism. So you create, you don't have energy sovereignty, you don't have food sovereignty, and you bring in low value added manufacturing, which doesn't contribute to the economy. So what you have to do is to start thinking about getting back connected to the land, because once you build up your agribusiness, a lot of other jobs are gonna come. Everything supports that. Artificial intelligence. You can use like satellites to look at the rotation of the crops. I mean, there's so many things that complement agriculture, but a lot of us are disconnected from the land. And, we look at it, like that's a farmer. We frown on a particular occupation. But there's so many aspects to agribusiness that a lot of our students don't understand. So the health issue, to me, is a policy issue as well, because the governments, because the United States undermine a lot of the crops, because through the World Trade Organization, they subsidize a lot of the U.S. farmers who were having problems. So it killed a lot of the like Africa and other countries' ability to compete. So that, to me, that means their governments should begin to sort of create better regulatory policy to facilitate and encourage entrepreneurship, things that are going to benefit their country, and stop allowing other countries to dictate their policy.
Yeah. Tell me something. You mentioned artificial intelligence.
Yes, sir.
Which is the role that you think artificial intelligence is going to have in our future? Mainly, I'm talking about this because you see, many people are being redundant at the moment, and a robot is doing some parts of the work and so many other things. In the call center, you see there is no somebody there to answer your question. There is a machine. And what do you think about that and entrepreneurship? Because what entrepreneurship means really is how to help people to create wealth. I mean, to create something to live properly as a proper human being. But on the other hand, we have these advances in technology, and this is changing the paradigm. What do you think about the whole issue?
Well, I think, with artificial intelligence, when you think about how, like, they talk about how, like, hundreds of millions of jobs are going to disappear for artificial intelligence. Like now, like, you can even write your grants. Like, one of the things that people I know use artificial intelligence software when they're doing a proposal from the government. They type in the questions that the proposer asks, and then it spits out a whole lot of information, and they write their proposals from the artificial intelligence. And when you think about cars that are being driven, I think, and I know Dean Rose on here, and I think we should be developing an artificial intelligence degree. I know she would do it because Dean Rose is innovator and a visionary, but then it goes back to, I think she's handicapped by the fact that the regulatory environment doesn't give her the power to do so. But I think when I think about artificial intelligence, I think our communities are behind the curve, because and they fired. What's the guy who got fired and then they had to bring him back?
Yeah, I know the man who you're talking about. I forgot the surname.
So there are also a lot of safety issues that they are concerned about as well. That a lot of people are sleeping. I think Elon Musk brought Steve Altman on as one of his people to sort of like study the safety concerns, and even like government. There's opportunities for government to utilize artificial intelligence. I just think there's so many. I just think the fourth industrial revolution is has already been underway, and I think the fragile communities are still so far behind. And I think if we don't do it's sort of similar to climate change. I would use this analogy, like it said, in about maybe the next 5-10 years, if we don't decarbonize, it's gonna be too late to sort of reverse things. And I think artificial intelligence is gonna have the same impact if we don't get ingratiated and sort of like participating in developing degrees and helping our young people understand artificial intelligence, maybe how to program, how to code, and a lot of other different things. Because I've been reading more up on artificial intelligence. So I think we're gonna get left behind also if we don't start to play. It's gonna be irreversible, I think, for us if we don't start to play in that area.
Yeah, right. That's very important. Prophet, tell me something about the role of a new student. I'm talking about very gifted people. What do you think they should be doing to create wealth for the humankind? Because you see what happening is that we have poverty everywhere. Poverty everywhere. And this is an ongoing world because the number is increasing. And the economy, for instance, in this country, in Chile, is not doing very well, I'm afraid. Although Copa and that kind of things. And you know, Chile is mainly a mining country.
Yes.
Nevertheless, we have another commodity and that kind of things. However, my dear friend, the money is not enough.
No.
In other words, what I need to say, and I want to say, is that we need to compete. And to compete is to produce something at least equal. But the idea is to produce something better than others. Not just to defeat them. It's just to have a balance of the economy, well, as it should be. But at the moment, you see, we are not in a good position, and I don't think we are doing well. We are not creating what we should be doing, and therefore there is a message for the politician here. You are not the politician, I'm not a politician either. Nevertheless, politicians make the laws and that kind of things. What do you think the new generation of politicians should be doing for a number of people in the world, which is increasing quite a lot? Just look at the number of citizens in China, in India, we were talking about that. And it's a huge number of people. How are we going to have enough food to feed them? How are you going to have
Well, if you leave it up to Bill Gates, he's gonna vaccinate everybody and depopulate the world. But all jokes aside, I think a lot of that has to do with people consume too much food, for one. And when you think about how the farmers sort of like I get a lot of background, so you have when you think about like the food with the food, they said we have too many people on the planet. They said 8 billion people on the earth can sustain on the 5.5 billion. And you know, vegetarians would say that if people stop eating meat, we could feed everybody. But I think realistically, I think when you think about what we can do, I think we have to go back to agriculture. You eat what you grow and grow what you eat. So a lot of people are focused on sort of like you can't afford a lot of the stuff that you're importing in. So grow your own food. You see, if you eat healthy, Professor, I know I know you want me to come up with some maybe genius idea, but if you eat healthy, you eat less. When you eat less, you lose weight, and you're healthy, and you're healthy, and other people eat. But also, I think people throw away a lot of food as well. But I think to feed it, I think really and I don't really have another answer, but it's for us to go back to growing out, eat what we grow and grow what we eat. You know, we need to start growing products. And then as you talked about, we need to do a common thing in an uncommon way, as you pointed out. You don't have to invent something new, you just got to do a common thing in an uncommon way. So I think for the food source, I think especially like young people, you could do like urban gardening. Like I used to do a re-entry program for ex-offenders where we used to do aquaponics and hydroponics. We would sort of like build these hydroponic and aquaponic facilities, and we produce tilapia fish, lettuce, tomatoes, and then some of the ex-offenders spun off like packaging business, delivery business. But then we also had it where they created it where they did a tour where they pay a little nominal fee and they go tour. So we created business that way, but we also created a food source also. So I think, you know, and then like in Brooklyn, some of the kids, they grow vegetables on top of buildings, you know, as opposed to, you know, and so I think we have to start planning and get into agriculture. I think we need to take agriculture more serious. I really do.
Yes. You know, there is somebody who won the Nobel Prize, who is Mohammed Yunus. He was talking about
out of Bangladesh.
Business. Yes, social business. What do you think about that at the moment, Prof?
Well, you know, I think anything that you know, they said the journey of a million miles begins with I guess one step, right? So I think I think he did micro lending. I think he did a lot of micro lending, I think to women, if I remember. And I think any good strategy, and I know Dean Rhodes does a lot of research on the gig economy and so forth. But I think anything that gets our people engaged, then we could find someone that come up with the next best thing. I think that the thing that's killing a lot of our students is we aren't creating environments that nurture and cultivate an entrepreneurial way of thinking. Okay, a lot of academicians like to stay within paradigms. And when you try to move outside the paradigm, you get penalized. And so, but when you create an environment where people are critically thinking, they're innovators, then they become disruptive. You know, business people, big corporations don't like disruption. What they do is they buy off the small ones that are disrupting, and then they go back to doing the same things that they want. So I think we also need to change some of the values of our entrepreneurs. Everybody want to be on Forbes list. It's good to be rich, but we need entrepreneurs that come up with innovative things to not sell out to the big business because the SMEs are the ones, the small enterprises are the ones that drive the economy. So a lot of the big corporations buy up the small business that are becoming disrupted. So we need entrepreneurs that are sort of disruptive to continue to disrupt, so we can make sure that things don't go back to how they are, and then people just stop and just get lazy, because a lot of business people are lazy. You know, when you think about, there are few people who are critical thinkers. And again, I go back, and I know you're about to make one, and the last thing I said, and I think our fault also is, as professors, we educate young people for jobs that aren't even there. And we know they aren't there. And so because we want to keep our jobs, so I think professors have to do some soul searching too, because a lot of them are teaching curriculum and won't update their syllabi to align with industry and what needs to be out there. And so they do a disservice to the students as well. So I think we have some cleaning up to do, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's very true. It is true. But there is a point, you see, let's say that there are a number of students who really want to learn and to create new ideas.
Okay.
To improve the quality of life of mankind. Let us assume that, to start with. Now, what would be your advice for those kind of people who are young people, full of energy, and they can do so many other things, which perhaps we cannot do it, in particular myself, because we don't have the energy. We have ideas, but you don't live on just an idea. You have to move. You have to take actions about things. And I don't think you have a long time to do that. So you have to make a decision quickly. Now, what are your point about this? What do you think are the main decision to be taken urgently if we want to move forward?
Yeah, I think like at Mega Evans College, Dean Rose, she created Entrepreneurship Institute. And there are other colleges that have created Entrepreneurship Institute. I think they used to have I don't know if the Youth Business League is still running. I'm sure it probably is, but I just think, like, and when I think about it, I don't really, the kids used to have lemonade stands. They used to do different, they used to sell different stuff. I remember when I was a kid, I used to like sell ice cream. We rent the ice cream truck and we had to pay so much for it. And then we sold all the ice cream. And we used to go up to Stack's Record and sell ice cream to Isaac Hayes and a lot of the guys. So, that's how I'm an entrepreneur. And so it started, when we were young. And so, like, I don't think a lot of people teach their kids entrepreneurship, and the ones who parents are entrepreneurs, they put them in programs. I think another thing that has happened that our government agencies have done is they've cut out a lot of social programs that used to keep kids active and engaged. It goes back to your health question you're talking about, because a lot of kids get obese. When I was a kid in the United States, they used to have the National Summer Youth Sports Program at this particular college. They used to use them at historically Black colleges. So when we were there, we learned sports. We were still doing education. We were taking out our environment. We saw people that were educators. We saw people that were business leaders. So you got to remove kids out the environment to see people and give them examples. So although I grew up in the projects and a lot of people were on welfare, heavily on dependent on the social safety net, but when we would go up to Lamorne College, we saw administrators, politicians, business people. And we learned sports, and we learned education. And then we went to the Boys and Girls Club. Then they had a summer program where the CETA program where we could work jobs. And the government paid us to work jobs, so we were developing skills. Now they've cut out a lot of that stuff. I mean, they cut out so much from education. So I think a lot of the programs that used to work, after like the rise in the civil rights movement, they cut a lot of those programs out. And I think with that, I think there's a correlation between the loss of a lot of those programs, after school programs, and stagnation and people not sort of being able to develop, because the school system now, and I think also go back to the education, they test too much. I think education should be project-based education. Now all they do is test. They don't teach the kids anything but rote learning and memorization. So the kids see school as a job. And so they're less open to innovative teachers and there's less openness for innovation, where there's more pressure to pass the test, as opposed to participate in things that cultivate and nurture entrepreneurs. Because I think you have to start them young, because every man and woman teaches as he or she acts. So if students, young kids don't see entrepreneurs, that's who they want to be like. A lot of the kids I grew up with used to brag about like everybody just got out of jail and they wanted to be a pimp and so forth. But I saw my mama get up and work every day. And I was good in school, so teachers put me in activities. But there were activities to be placed in. But now within this regulatory environment, government environment, they cut everything. Okay.
Very true. Yes.
And I think that's part of the problem as well. And then I think at the college level, I think a problem also is accreditation. I hope Dean Rose don't slap my hand, but what I think the accrediting bodies tell us how to teach students what to learn. And they they control whether or not we get funding. And some of them haven't been in the classroom, but they're making policy for what business schools do. Now, Dean Rose been out there, you've been out there. Seems like they should have more weight on telling us what we need to measure with regards to what business students should be learning, what entrepreneurs should be doing. But these accrediting bodies, they tell you, well, you got to change your whole resume. You got to do all this, do a whole lot of just busy work, in my opinion, as opposed to helping us sort of unlock the critical thinking of our students.
Yes, that's very true. There is a challenge for the academic staff nowadays, Prof. And this is, it really is getting bad. You see, academic staff have been pushed by the authority to publish and publish and publish. In other words, the American saying, publish or perish. It doesn't really matter the quality of what they are doing. What they want is the publication to be in the Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4. That's the nomenclature. Nevertheless, there is another factor nowadays which is taken into account. It's called the age index. So you get an age equal to 1 if one of your publications get more than 20 site quotations, and so on. So you may have 100 publications, but if the number of publications with an age index other than 0 is low, you have nothing. What do you think about that, my dear Prof?
Well, having been an editor of a journal, the publishing game is who you know. When I was submitting, like a lot of these people know the editors at top journals. Like when I taught at Rutgers, I sent an article in, they saw Rutgers, they got published. When I went to a historically Black college, Texas Southern University, I thought I sent a better article in, but they wouldn't even publish it because they looked and saw where the author came from. They may say, well, he came from Medgar Evers. But if you send it from Yale, it could be trash, but it's going to get published. So, but also, I think you have to realize also, a lot of these people like academic research and ResearchGate, they professionalize their occupations, and now they monetize this stuff. So now they're saying, well, you got to get this score, and they're making people pay. And so it's really a money game, and it's really a who you know. Because I remember, like, they used to tell me, well, you need to let this get published. I said, but this trash. But, if your dean telling you, and I'm an assistant professor, and I'm the editor-in-chief, and they're telling you that I need to let it go through, and I want to get tenure, I got to let it go through. But somebody else's article that I thought was quality because you didn't like the topic, you tell me not to publish it. So that's a game, that's a game as well, And I think it's an unfortunate one, I think as long as it's quality and if it's peer reviewed and it contributes, how you going to quantify what my article does for a community? Because some people have taken some articles that wasn't. Here's another thing. I put it this way. Here's a better analogy. The gentleman that owns Federal Express. You familiar with Federal Express?
Yes.
Where Fred Smith went to Princeton, he wrote a paper and the professor gave him a C and told him it would never work. And so think about what he got on his index on this paper. Now, Fred Smith is a billionaire, okay? And this paper, obviously, he was on to something. It's the same with publishing. Some people would devalue your paper based on your institution, affiliation, and the topic and all of that. So I would say to your scholars, don't be discouraged by someone's subjective opinion. Okay, continue to engage in your research, but I think what's important is to make sure you try to implement and execute your research. That's when you really see the impact of your research. Because a lot of times the people that are in these Q1 and whatever the ranking are,
Yeah, too
they
many
just sit and
names.
talk. They just sit and talk to each other all the time. They just like many of the preachers at church. They talk about all the sinners outside, but they don't never go outside to preach to them. And we go to the conference and talk to each other and tell each other how we smart. And we may teach at in a neighborhood that needs to benefit from our research, but we get on the train or the bus or drive our car and go home, never do anything in that community. So I don't pay much attention to that. I think, you have to do your research. You may have to move to another institution that may embrace your research, but I just think, you know, if you're satisfied and you feel good about what you do, because then you stay young. Like I tell people, I love what I do. I'm 61 years old, and I tell anybody I don't look like I'm 61. That's because I love what I do, and I don't care what people say. And a lot of people value my research. When I go in the community, they value my research.
Well, there is a couple of songs. One is called Let It Be, and the other Imagine by John Lennon. You know John Lennon. I'm sure you do.
Yes, yes.
Because the lyrics mean something which is very, very special, my dear friend.
Okay.
I tell my students that we came to this world to be happy, not to suffer. And therefore, what we should do, you see, to be honest, loyal to everybody, and to learn how to live with the other people around us, and to be good persons. That's the most important paper that you can write in your bloody life. What I would like to do, Prof, if you allow me, I know that I'm very naughty, asking for many things simultaneously.
No, it's fine.
I was just about to send the letter last night. It was about 2 p.m. a.m. Nevertheless, I said, well, I'm going to ask him today. Well, what I would like you is you can write some of your idea and send that over to us, because we have an electronic journal which is read by many people around the world. And if you can do something, you are going to help a lot of people who are really a bit disturbed, and some of them very lost indeed. Because your idea, I think, are very clear. You go straight to the point, and that's very important for everybody, I think, my prof.
I'm happy to write something if you want to like WhatsApp me and tell me what you'd like me to write about.
It's something
I'd
like
be happy to write.
a chapter of a book, say 20 pages about your points, your main points. You mentioned something very important about teaching a student to become civil engineering, knowing that there are no places for them to work, that kind of things, which are really very important. These are a breakthrough. I think we have to think in a rather different way, my professor.
I got you. Okay, I got you. So I do maybe a critique of the professor.
Yes.
I got you.
You are.
I come up with something.
You are big enough. You can do that. With no problem.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir. I don't worry about it. Plus, Dina tell you, I'm an ex-soldier. I'm an ex-soldier, ex-special forces, so I can handle myself. I'm not afraid.
Well, my dear Prof, it has been a real pleasure. Let me say that I'm very, very happy that you say yes to this interview, which I'm going to send you the link. It's going to be in YouTube in about 30 or 40 minutes time, and you will see how it goes. And I'm going to write a letter to you, formally asking you for the contribution for our electronic journal, where Joan has published a lot there as well.
Okay.
And you see, I love a lot Mega Era College. So I did my postdoc there in Charlottesville, in Virginia.
Okay.
So I love the USA, and Well, let us hope for the best.
Okay, and Dean Rose on that. Dean Rose, did you want to say anything, Dean? That's my Dean right there. She on the call. I know. I didn't know if she want to say anything.
She was in two meetings simultaneously.
Okay, so she multitasking. I guess that's
No,
Dean
but
Rose.
she's listening to both meetings simultaneously.
That's Dean Rose. She multitasking, and see that again. That's that commitment. You know, a lot of people don't have that kind of commitment to the institution or to the students. And then she's on trying to support her faculty. See, that's leadership 101. You know, a lot of people don't, understand leadership. So that's Dean Rose. When you open up the dictionary, you see leadership, you see Dean Rose.
Yes. Well, we should see if she can say something. That would be absolutely wonderful.
Hi, hi. I was in another meeting, but I so wanted to be with you. Dr. Price is one of our favorite faculty members, and of course, you know, Roberta, you're one of my friends from way back to Mega when I first started, and so I definitely wanted to support the effort here. So I'm so glad I could chime in for what part that I could. Appreciate all that Professor Price has done for the college. You know, Professor Price is a world traveler. He's one of our senior scholars in public administration, and he too supports the college and the school with all of the efforts that he does around the world. I mean, he's in South Africa one day and another country the next. He's in Chile. I was just surprised. He's in Chile now with you. So I'm just very grateful and very pleased that these kinds of collaborations and coordinations can happen globally. And so thank you so much for sending me the invitation so that I could even hear and be a small part.
Joanna, we need you here in Chile. You should get back.
Okay. I got it. We will try to get back to Chile, but too, it's been a long time since you was at Mega in Brooklyn. You came 2 or 3 times, and now we got to get you back as well.
I want to go to Indigo Hotel.
You want to go back to the Indigo Hotel? I think that's your favorite. You was there a couple of times. We'll see how we can raise some money for you to come back. Yeah. Okay, I have to sign off now, but it's been indeed a pleasure. And thanks so much, Dr. Price, for sharing your wisdom, your guidance, your knowledge, our world scholar, our world scholar at Mega.
Thank you, Dean. Take care, Dean. Good to see you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
All right, my friend.
It has been a real pleasure.
Likewise, sir. And when you send me that invitation, I'll get that article written for you.
Thank you very much indeed. And we are going to see him in a couple of days, Friday.
I have a quick question for you. Where can I find a carbon monoxide detector?
Pardon?
A carbon monoxide detector.
Write that to me because the signal is getting very bad, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to text it to you. Okay. All right. Okay, Professor. I'll see you Friday then.
Yes. I'm going to write back to you by WhatsApp because the signal is very, very low at the moment.
Okay.
It goes up and down, which is very funny, but it is like that.
Okay, sir. Take care.
You take care. In the carbon monoxide sector, I'm going to send you the information.
Okay.
Yeah? I will do it this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you are more than welcome. Whatever you need, please just give me a phone call or whatever.
All right, thank you.
And at any time, you don't need to wait until tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
You are more than welcome, my dear friend. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you as well.
Bye-bye, my friend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.